The news over the past week has been filled with Ukraine and the debt limit crisis in the United States. But there's far more going on that you need to know. Should time continue for 1,000 years, the stories that historians will look back on will not come from Washington, they will not come from Ukraine, and they will not probably come from Taiwan. They will come from Turkey. Last Sunday, Turkish President Erdogan was re-elected for a third decade in office. The Turkish president is important, and for this you have to have a little bit of background. Turkey was Anatolia. It was home to the Hittite Empire, which over time became a actually Greek Christian empire of Byzantium, Constantinople. Santa Claus lived in Turkey. As time went by, the Constantinople fell, and the Ottoman Empire spread across the region, including into Eastern Europe. While the Balkan Wars of the 90s were well known for the Serbian atrocities, which were shocking. It is lesser known that the region, to a degree, was a place where Islamic Jihad coalesced. Well, they took the opportunity to coalesce. The conflict in the Balkans was, to a degree, Christian versus Muslim, and this became highlighted once it moved into places like Kosovo. The Ottoman Empire would suffer as great powers pressed on it from all sides. And right now is a good time to go study the Crimean War, because it's surprising how many parallels we see today in Ukraine. About roughly 100 years ago, the Ottoman Empire ended, partially because of its alliance with Germany in the First World War, and partially because of many internal issues. The post-empire Turkey, and once again I must point out, this is where we see the influence of Turkey and the Ottomans on the region. Turkey's widespread territories across the area are reflected in the modern struggles in the Middle East, because as the great powers carved up Turkish lands and possessions from Egypt to Iraq, they drew lines, and they drew them with a ruler. And those lines had not been drawn with a ruler. In Turkey, while the great powers were sowing the seeds for wars to come, the Kemal Ataturk led his nation into the modern world. After the Second World War, Turkey took a surprisingly key role in the Cold War, becoming NATO's most southern member and playing an important role in holding the Soviet Union north of the Mediterranean. Gary Powers' U-2 flew out of Turkey, and tens of thousands of American service members have fond memories of serving in Turkey. And at the moment, I want to pause and take a shout out to you, John. And I want to thank him for sharing some of his memories of Turkey. It's an amazing place, vibrant, historic. Turkey, modern Turkey, has been shaped by the Erdogan government and by the post-Gulf War, post-Cold War Middle East. Turkey played an important role in both Gulf Wars. Turkey played an important role in the Syrian Civil War. And today, not enough people are as aware of Turkey's role as they should be. Turkey has a vibrant, developed economy. It controls the entrance to the Black Sea. It has influence across the region. The Turkish election has influences from Taiwan to Khartoum to Kiev. While Iranian suicide drones are famous for being used by Russia, Ukraine has used Turkish drones, which I have heard colloquially described as the Toyota Corolla of drones, which is not bad. The Corolla is not a bad car. I mean, and they're not describing it as a Corvette. They're not describing it as a Yugo. Turkey has an advanced defense industry. And as the West and Russia are drawn into, and even Iran, today Iran is becoming more and more invested in Ukraine. And as these power players are drawn out of the Middle East, it increases, I wouldn't call it a vacuum, but it increases the space for Turkey to expand. And it is. The Erdogan government re-election is not welcomed by everyone, and that's understandable. But it is a vote for stability. The Erdogan government is part of the status quo. The Erdogan, resume recording, the Erdogan government will maintain peace because that's what helps it. We have already seen this in several occasions. The grain shipments out of Ukraine, which helped literally save lives, were negotiated by Turkey. The admittance of Finland and Sweden to NATO have been impacted by the Erdogan government. The Erdogan government is expanding Turkey's footprint in the region. Now, of course, Syria comes to mind, but that's not the only place. In the months leading up to the election, Turkey launched an aircraft carrier. To the Western mind, this is what we would call a helicopter carrier. It is a platform for vertical takeoff and landing equipment, plus deployment of amphibious forces. And while great powers have these, they aren't on the cover of the magazines. That would be the Nimitz and the Queen Elizabeth. These, however, when one considers what's going on in Sudan, one will realize the value of this carrier. This is a few acres of sovereign Turkish territory and positioned off of Sudan. It can be a promise or a threat. Turkey can use it to supply humanitarian goods. It can use it to support a legitimate government should it choose to. The drones, and this is specifically called a drone carrier. The drones, helicopters, and soldiers this will allow deployment of are game changers. And this platform alone, just this platform, will change Turkey from a powerful regional leader to a regional superpower. And not just in East Africa, where you also have to think about Somalia. If Turkey were to attempt to help the Somali government, which Somalis have just gathered, and past week they announced they would be holding elections. So if, let's say, Turkey decided to move its helicopter carrier off the coast of Somalia, the helicopter carrier against the Nimitz is insignificant. But parked off Somalia, it's with supporting ships, it's the biggest player in the game. So Turkey has really moved into a position in most of the world, but not just most of the world. Remember, when every Russian warship in the Black Sea is busy watching for Ukrainian drones, Turkey is now the preeminent naval power in the Black Sea. When we look at Turkey, we think of Constantinople, the Bosporus. We think of our impressions of Turkey. When the Turks look at Turkey, they think of the Ottoman Empire. And the re-election of President Erdogan is significant. And that's why I said, should the world continue for 1,000 years, when historians look back at this week, they will consider the re-election of Turkish President Erdogan to be the historically significant event. Watch Turkey. And by the way, congratulations to President Erdogan. You've had a couple. President Erdogan has not been feeling so well recently, where they say it's a stomach bug. Obviously, political opponents have a few other ideas they floated, but we hope he continues to get feeling better. Congratulations. I'm sure a presidential election goes a long
the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight left gleaming, whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket-red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? the midst of the deep, where the foes of the host in dread silence reposes. What is that which the breeze for the towering steep, as it fitfully blows, half concealed, half discloses? Now